Pope Francis arrives in Washington today. The Jesuit Pope has led many Catholics back to the church with his unique and open spirituality. Joining me this morning, former Jesuit missionary, current Virginia Senator Tim Kaine, to offer his perspective on the Pope's visit to the Capitol. Good to see you, Senator. How are you this morning?
Hey, doing great, and we're very excited about the visit.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about what you're expecting, and specifically this visit to the Capitol. He's coming to you on Thursday. A lot of plans in the works, a lot of planning in the works, but your reaction to what you expect to see on Thursday?
Well, I think a lot of us are kind of excited or anxious about what the Pope will say. I think the great thing is just to go and listen. There's a great I think from the book of Jeremiah, there's this critique of people who have ears but do not hear. We just need to go and hear what the Pope has to say, and I'm expecting he'll say some things that will challenge us and some things that will surprise us. If I had to guess, I think he will talk a lot about what leadership is. I think the Pope's own personal humility we need to hear that, because political leaders, business leaders, religious leaders, military leaders too often, I think, elevate themselves above the people instead of trying to serve the people. And I think he'll challenge us as leaders to not separate ourselves but be more of the people. And then the second thing, I'm sure he'll talk about this migrant crisis in Europe, just like the unaccompanied minors coming to the U.S. border last summer, the migrant crisis in Europe. It so connects into biblical injunctions about the kindness to the, quote, stranger in a strange land, the Old Testament phrase. And I think he'll talk about the need of all nations to try to figure out solutions to this. But I'm sure he'll say some things that will surprise us, and that's one of the reasons that everybody is so excited to have the Pope here.
Yeah, it seems like unilaterally that is the case. Now, there's always protocol when it comes to things happening in Congress, and such is the case when it comes to what's going to happen on Thursday. Amongst the leadership, it's basically been summed up as a look but don't touch when it comes to the Pope himself. Now, do you think that yourself and fellow members will follow that, or if the Pope walks right by you, might you just want to say hello?
Well, I'm going to do anything I can to get as close as I can. There is going to be a lot of protocol. The Pope will arrive here on the Capitol, and there will be thousands of people on the Capitol grounds to welcome him. Every member of Congress gets one seat in the gallery, and when the Pope's visit was announced, my wife called me immediately and said, "Now you're not going to give that seat to anyone else, are you?" So it's going to be very, very special. And I know there will be a lot of people out on the west side of the Capitol too, watching the speech on the Jumbotron. One little hope I have is I hope the Pope, maybe as he leaves delivering the speech in chambers, will go out on the balcony to wave to folks there. I don't know whether that will happen or not, but I know that would be an electric moment for the thousands who will be there to see him.
For those who are not in the chambers, we're so used to seeing the chambers during events like the State of the Union, and at that point, we're also used to seeing half the room stand, half the room sit. Will everybody be working in concert now when it comes to the Pope, even if he says something that might maybe sway one side or the other here?
It's funny, I haven't heard anybody talk about that up here, but I've been thinking about it just the way you asked it. I'm not even sure applauding or standing or, I'm not even sure that that's the right thing to do during a papal visit. I mean, I'm sure we'll be standing and applauding when the Pope comes in. But again, I think the spirit needs to be a reflective one and an earnest one, and making sure that we are truly listening to what the Pope is saying, rather than trying to take, this sentence and put it into our own way of thinking. I think it was Lincoln who said, we all want to claim that God's on our side. What we should try to do is get on God's side. I do see a lot of debate trying to claim this or that thing that the Pope might say to support this or that political position. But I think the real issue is just to earnestly listen to what he has to say, and then let that sort of like be the seed that's planted in hopefully good soil that might bloom into something later as we reflect upon it.
Okay, and in the spirit of that listening, Senator, and I say this tongue-in-cheek, can we perhaps schedule the government shutdown vote within an hour, say, of when the Pope is done talking, maybe get something done on Thursday?
Well, I think if the Pope is able to steer us away from a government shutdown, then that will be a wonderful thing. Look, I hope the spirit of the occasion lasts. The Pope can call us to our better selves, and especially in his own humble demeanor as a leader, I do think that that's something that, frankly, we all need to learn from.
All right, Senator, we appreciate it. Enjoy yourself on Thursday. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, we'll do.